Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with our first finalist, the rank 1 Terran in the world. In the red, it's Team Liquid's Clem. Facing off against Cyril's greatest stunt double, the Zerg in blue, we have Solar. In a best of 5 Zerg versus Terran Grand Finals to the newest iteration of the Kung Fu Cup tournament. Before we get started, it'd be incredible. You could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. And we kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,852 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the first Reaper comes in and tries to make the opposite happen for the Zerglings. And this will not be the last. But wait, there's more. As Clem taking a page directly out of Maru's book with the in-base 2 Rex, and of course the Overlord gliding towards Clem's base will see those Reapers, and now Threepers on the way across, looking to put on some extra pressure and make Zerg's lives, well, either very uncomfortable or ideally short, and maybe a bit of both. As the Queens will dodge the grenades, struggle their way up or down the ramp, and the Reapers will easily jump down with significantly more agility. The Zergling speed is still a long way off. The Zerglings buffering effectively. Right. Queen's getting bullied around, and Clem really threatening. Another Queen has finished in the main. Going to bring the most badly bruised Reaper. But Solar actually managed to slip a drone out and get a third during all this. And sometimes the objective with the early Reapers is to deny the third outright, but Clem unable to do so to any significant effect. And honestly, I think Solar handling this about as perfectly as you could. One Zergling will be remembered for this moment, and then we'll probably forget, but losing one Zergling, it doesn't really tell the full story. Of course, a lot of StarCraft in general, and Zerg specifically, is what you didn't build as opposed to what you lost, because these players don't have a tendency to build things they don't think are going to be useful. So in building a whole nother set of Zerglings, he's got 13 of them, and maybe we'll be adding some more. Indeed he is. The Queen, well, one drone gets picked up, but the Zerglings intercepting the Hellions, trying to save them with a grenade, but the Zerglings on top of it. I think there are enough to deal with this, and with the Hellions already being badly bruised, one of the Reapers gets ripped apart. The Hellions with beautiful micro will survive, but the Reapers will not. And so far, Solar with a near-perfect defense. Minimal losses across the board, intercepts the follow-up Hellions, rips apart the Reapers, and quickly gets his third base. The Queen gonna be patched up by her fellows, and honestly, you're feeling pretty good. And against Clem, of all players, literally, specifically Clem, shutting down the early harass is the best you could dream of, as of course Clem is in a league of his own, somewhat literally. I think they call it Legends. That might be something different. When it comes to the early game micro, and the mid game micro, and also the late game micro, and the macro micro as well. He's pretty good. Citation needed. But Solar, quantity has a quality all its own. A profound, though simplistic statement. Solar truly embodies, whereas Cyril is like a surgeon. Solar is an MMA fighter, where Cyril is a scientist. Solar is a shaman. It's impossible not to draw the comparisons, no matter how convoluted, confusing, and somewhat inaccurate they are, because Solar does play a very similar sort of macro Zerg style. He doesn't have the crazy timing attacks, at least not usually, of someone like Shin, or Dark, come back to us Dark, or Rogue, but instead tries to emulate that full attrition-based Zerg, and he's doing so here. But Clem gonna try to slow it down. The Hellbat's coming in, the Banshee joined in, the Queens on the front lines, and oh no, they all survive. And get off my creep! It's true, I'm just being factual. I don't... The Zerglings deny and kill 5 SCVs back at home. The Queens all survive, which is remarkable in and of itself against this French player. And Solar, incredible defense on all fronts, and decent offense on the other one. 69 drones is a very nice start, and a Hydraless Den is on the way, indicating we are going to stay at that lair tech, that sort of mid-game brawler composition, who's designed to just overwhelm a Terran who doesn't quite have map control. And Clem has lost that opportunity. He's going to try to regain it. Medevacs, of course, are almost infinitely microable, especially when there is an anti-air on the field, but he's already lost so much momentum in losing the early Reapers and then getting shut down on the Hellbat push. You don't even need more drones at this point. 77 drones, but you need more overloads. Moreover. But when it comes to drones, 77 is not the cap, but it's certainly comfortable at this stage, especially going for a Hydraling composition. If you want something a bit more technologically inclined, or you want to incline your tech tree even further, well, then maybe you need a few more. But for now, Solar should be able to punch out the Hydras, though the Liberators, a Venn diagram of freedom, he's going to a beachhead sort of attack here. And the Zerglings can do nothing about it. They're actually trapped in, creating quite an awkward holding area. Another medevac is coming across, but the Queens, Hydra slipping around the back. The Queens taking the hits. It's painful, but it will be dealt with quickly. Another Queen obliterated, but worth the price. The Queens are there, so nothing else dies. The Queen's not costing larva, not costing gas, just minerals, and they add to your production instead of subtract from it, which their sacrifice is very much not in vain. And there's a reason you see so many of them in the early, mid, and if they survive, the late game. Though, Solar actually rebuilding. That's not always the case, as sometimes players will just rely on whatever Queens survive the early onslaught. But Solar not being stingy, as now 5 bases, 5 hatcheries. Infestation pit is on the way, but Clem, let's go to the Clem camp. This is your warning, as he's got a double drop. Production, 4th base on the way. Attack on the left, setting up more. Looks forward, not intimidated by the banelings. A little supply, oh, not even supply bot. He's just planning ahead. Starports, another starport on the way. Drilling Claw's about to complete, stimming his way through. More research completing. He's got 2-2 on the way. The double drop sees the Hydras out of position. Maybe can move forward. And Clem gets cleaned up on the field, looking for, well, he's working around the edges of the creep, because right now, as we go back to everyone, he's waiting for 2-2. That's going to be his best opportunity, though he's already got a fusion core on the way. So, okay, it's not battle cruisers. I wish it was battle cruisers. I think maybe you wish it was battle cruisers. It's range liberators. Less exciting, more effective. And the banelings just bashing through the army. And Clem, 6 Widow Mines and 9 Marines dead. Some banelings and Zerglings down, but that's kind of their lot in life. To end it as quickly as possible in a good trade. We got the Lurker Den halfway there alongside the Hive. They take the same amount of time. How convenient. And Hive Tech Lurkers are an existential threat to Marines, Mines, and Medevacs. The M&M shredded easily, or knocked out of the sky. But Liberators and Ghosts, on the other hand, significantly less so. Which is why it's thankful for Clem that he's headed that direction. Unfortunately intercepted by Solar on the Western Front. And has to pick up. A few more Liberators knocked down. And it's so important for Solar to be keeping control of the Liberator count. He doesn't even know this is Mass Liberator. He doesn't know it's going to be Quick Advanced Ballistics. And this is Quick Advanced Ballistics. But in knocking down these Liberators and resetting the count, he's buying himself more time than he might even realize. As Hive Tech is prepared. And he's got the laundry list of upgrades. Though the Widow Mine's just kind of... Oh, he did get a drop. He'll burrow down. Another shot. 8 drones dead to mines. He'll drag some of the attention away. And that's enough for the Marines to come stimming through. Just a couple Banes out in front. And targets a couple, but he picks up into the rest. We got Vipers, Adrenal Glands, Lurker Range, Hydra Lunge, and now some Lurkers on the way as Solar. 200 supply, and Clem's joining him there. But he's been struggling to get the damage done. And if you don't slow down the freight train of Zerg before Hive Tech comes out online, well, then you'll find yourself tied to the tracks. I don't think we're going to slow down here as both these players combined 1,000 APM, and it's only going up as more and more units and more fronts to manage. The double, triple drop, whatever's left over. Going to try to do something, but the front is cleared. The drop on the side at the natural. Oh no, the evolution chamber +2 ranged attack. He's not targeting it actively, but enough Marines are there. Denies +2 attack for the Lurkers and Hydras. Quite a big impact, though not the end of the world. And now Clem is starting to regather momentum. Well, I guess gathering it for the first time, because he never really had it. But now with Solar's creep getting driven back, another hatchery denied, upgrade shut down. All that, the lead, at least the supposed lead that I implied Solar had, has all but evaporated. As ghosts and liberators and mines are joining the field, the composition needed to deal with gestures at Zerg in general, I don't know. The Lurkers are going to struggle against mass Liberator Ghost. The Hydras are good enough until they get set up, but now we got Caduceus Reactor as well, Medevac Energy Regen, lunging forward, and Solar, always taking the punches, has yet to be able to deal it out. Another Widowmon takes a big bite along the corner. He's got him kind of tucked in almost random locations, which is just a real struggle to deal with for Zerg, cost effectively, or really at all sometimes. Meanwhile, more Queens gunned down. The lunge does almost pick up one of the medevacs, anticipates the drop over to the left side. There's enough for a parabomb. He might not get over here. Just completely yanks one of the medevacs out of the sky, and with great prejudice, obliterates it. The pieces and everything inside go flying, but not for much longer. More command centers on the way, and Solar, he's got a lot of money in the bank, and he's managed to be nearly as cost effective. And in fact, he's lost slightly less gas than Clem so far, especially with all those Liberators and medevacs knocked down. Clem down the center. No infestors at the moment. But the Hydras, Lings, and Banes are still quite a threat. The Planetaries are not as entrenched as they could be, and building armor and high-sec auto-tracking aren't done yet. Liberators looking for an opportunity, not finding it yet. Planetary torn apart. Zerglings more than enough at this stage. The Liberators are very stacked up, but are there any parasitic bomb? No, you can't go in there. That's way too many Liberators. 5 Liberators stacked up, but with no parabombs or even abducts to help deal with it. He doesn't quite have one yet. Oh, EMP. The Overseer's out in front. Clem. There's a whole bunch of changelings mixed in, but Clem battening down the hatches, and Solar's first attempt at an all-out attack will be thwarted with relative ease. Solar ends up... Well, he destroyed... No, wait, I'm reading it wrong. Yeah, Clem definitely got the better end. Bit of an awkward setup there. I think we're on a different language UI, but... The Zerglings in the natural, a Nidus in the main, will be shut down immediately by reinforcements. Zerglings just on one of the starports, a planetary fortress. Now, the moment it finished, a world of fire and fury, unfortunate, will be destroyed immediately. The Zerglings still working their way through the production. The Hydras, Lings, and Banes challenging Clem directly on the field. And he's, most importantly, he's denying economy. And the Ghosts are caught out in front. The Hydras move forward. Banelings crashing in. Ghosts line up their snipes. Another Venn diagram of freedom. But the Nidus lag. Oh, no. We don't wait for anyone here. And Solar Doesn't seem to be waiting for Clem to stabilize. Another round. Another Nidus in the main. As Clem struggling to break out of his base, and Solar still banking. He has the income lead. The Vipers come in. And, well, an EMP lands, some blinding clouds. The Hydras will pick apart the Liberators. And how many more orbitals are left? Okay, 8 orbitals. He's fine. Meanwhile... What? Well, okay. Now, I think some of that might be... if there was lag for both players... Clem, as we mentioned, quite micro-oriented. A Nidus gets in the main, is uncontested. He loses the battle. He hasn't put any pressure on. There are lurkers in the Nidus. Okay. Yes, but also... Solar manages to tilt Clem enough. I think that was far from decisively decided. But Clem may disagree. No one decides whether the game is going well for him as fast as Clem. So, an inauspicious start, but... I'm sorry. Thank you, Jimmy. Solar wins game number 1 a bit anticlimactically. That was a getting whiplash here. In the midst of a bunch of fights, Solar hammering on the door, and then Clem just opens it and says, "Come on in. You won. You win. Come. No. That's it. All right." The Frenchman. Well. Interesting start. But I don't think, assuming we don't get any more technical or emotional difficulties, I don't think Clem is out of it, emotionally or physically, as we met. Solar lost a lot of his early lead relatively quickly. Of course, that's kind of his whole thing. Observing is so... That's actually one of the top Korean... I think he's a dedicated observer, actually. Or he might be a caster as well. But he's on almost every single... I notice him in the observing of almost every single tournament. He may have just been trying to follow Clem. But there's a lot going on between these two, even though we can kind of try to boil it down to a fight here or there. Because I found in the past the nuances of watching Clem do worker pairing, or how important it is to queue up units correctly, or the different methodologies for larva inject. That's a bit more of a deep dive, where most people enjoy the shallowness of the kiddie pool commentary. Which, if you think that was a veiled criticism of you, like and subscribe. Reaper, I'm gonna take a poke around. So, Maru, and I'm gonna spoil a bit here. Not entirely, but Maru in the GSL used that strategy, that Reaper Hellion, several times against Zerg. And I don't know if he won a single game with it. Like, you're not going to win. The point is not to win. It's to set the tone, to keep control, maybe deny a third, potentially creep, maybe even kill a queen or two, force a bunch of Zerglings. The thing is, I think Zergs have adapted. They adapted to that back when Beyond had decided we're doing Reapers again like 3 years ago. And even though queens cost slightly more, it's just one of those strategies that most Zerg players who've been around for several years, which is all of them, and get... churlish and insubordinate. Brendan, stop yelling at the Reaper. I don't... Well, I can't do actual damage, so we gotta do something. You could just turn the other cheek. What? Sorry. I am blacked out for a sec. Reaper jumps into the main. The Queen, a little out of position. So, Clem giving Solar the benefit of the doubt. Partially because the Hellions are getting chased by the Zerglings. Takes an odd corner. Oh, Juke Skywalker. Doubles back. Solar tried to grab the Hellions. One might be caught. Oh, he slips through. And there's more Hellions on the way. And he'll escape without too many scratches, despite all the Zerglings seemingly getting the jump. Zergling gets into the main. We'll spot. So I'm a Banshee Evangelist. Banshee Evangelist. Alright. I think that any Terran who does not open... I'm expanding my thought process. Any Terran who does not open Banshees against Zerg is at best gambling, and at worst actively denying themselves an advantage. I feel increasingly strongly as we see for some reason Terrans trying a significant variation of build. Now, you may criticize, and I see the criticisms. I read all the comments, much to, well, for better or worse, and I'd say both. And you would too. Like, oh, Clem is so boring. He does the same thing every time. We already know what's going to happen. Well, you didn't know he was going to tap out at 170 supply last game, did you? I mean, you might have taken a wild guess, but... Anyways, part of the reason is there is a... Terran is hard to tech switch. Significantly harder than Zerg or Protoss. Because it's not just adding production or even adding a tech building. It's also building said unit and then moving it across the map. Zerg doesn't have that issue as much because they're tech buildings and then their production is their larva. Protoss can warp things in. Terran, on the other hand, has a unique set of upgrades for all sorts of units, and many of them need their own upgrades. What am I trying to say, though? The Banshees themselves... No, my, he's going for it. He's thinking about it. I forget where I started this train of thought, so, hopefully we end somewhere profound. Just like these queens, I don't... This is restricted lair space! Well, there's plenty of space after we had to cancel that hatch, Brenda. Whose team are you on? Sorry. But the Banshees are so good at forcing a response. And as long as you're paying semi-close attention... Oh, the point was, why does Clem do the same builds and why does every game look so similar? Because Clem's really good at it. And Terran has a very narrow range, somewhat comparatively, in what they can actually accomplish at certain timings because of those production mechanics. Now, they can accomplish a lot with very few units, as Clem on a regular basis shows us. But the Banshees just... Defense, it's like the Oracle against Zerg in Protoss versus Zerg, where it just controls so much of the map. But when you want to control more, you drop a couple siege tanks on the high ground and let the Zerg try to figure out how to deal with this. 1-1 is done, though Combat Shield is a pretty long way off. The Hellions will protect the high ground, potentially. He's boxing out the Zerglings, and the siege tanks running into it. Just guns down the Queens, and oh no. Solar taking terrible, terrible damage. The Hellions on the backline, like an Oliveira style from several years ago at this point. He's going to juggle the tanks to the low ground, or just pick them up and back off. But either way, the damage was done. Clem destroys 2,225 minerals and 400 gas. Solar gets 750 minerals. He took out some of the Marines, a couple Hellions. The siege tanks are still alive inside the medevac for now, unless Clem strays a little bit too close to these Hydras. The Banshees went back home, got repaired, and will continue to be a missile-based thorn in the side. And speaking of, Widow Mines are being added into the composition. So, Clem is smoothly transitioning into a much more mass production. And oh no, Solar! He never built a spore, the Banshees! Just this... They're never not useful. It's just... Most players don't have the APM to continue to make them useful at this stage of the game. But the fact he's dragging Hydras and Queens out of position, he's killed 9 drones. Clem is taking a 4th base while denying the economy at Solar's 3rd and 4th. So, looks like he will lose the Banshees now. But at least half of the Hydras are out of position to try to jump this army before it gets close. Now, he's going on to the creep without sieging. Baneling speed is 3 seconds out, but unfortunately those 3 seconds are the ones that the tanks siege up in. The Hydraslings and Bane, he might be able to crush this attack. It really isn't that much. The siege tanks, not nearly as entrenched as we saw earlier. The Marines retreat to the high ground. The Widow Mines will be dragged or destroyed. More Widow Mines. Drilling Claws is done. Doesn't retarget, and the Hydras and Lings will clean up the field. Clem, a bit ambitious, to say the least, to try to get this done with a smaller portion of his army. The tanks kind of caught in the center. Solar brought everything together, collapses on it, and drowns it in Zerg. And now the medevacs to the main. The Sporimeter. Working title. Been working on that one for a while, but the spores on the perimeter and the Hydras. But the medevacs existing here is anchoring the Hydras back at home. While Clem moves out yet again. And very interesting that Clem is once again getting a fusion core at such an early stage of the game. He's rushing. I would call this rush. It's much earlier than, like, he's not maxed out. He's not close to 3-3. But he's going for the fusion core so early. The upgrades are so good on the feet. Maybe he's finally embracing it. The Widow Mines gonna try to cut the Ling Bane count down as he desperately needs to. Oh my god, the target fire. Casually turns and knocks down the Banelings. Of course, there's a few more issues besides said Banelings to deal with. And now Solar gonna try to turn the tables. Meanwhile, there's still enough Hydras back at home. Solar with the hotkey discipline not to select all army here. In fact, I think he's got them on their own key to make sure. Oh, Baneling's rolling by. He caught a glimpse. He saw something on the minimap and immediately scanned out of the corner of his eye. I wonder if he scanned on the minimap as well. Kind of doubt it, but Clem with advanced ballistics on the way. So, Liberator range and Medevac energy regen are 2 of the most impactful upgrades in the entire game. It's just, so many times Terrans will only get the fusion cores like a very late game afterthought. Even if you're going for Liberators, it does seem to be a bit delayed. It's a little costly, at 150 gas for the core, and some minerals, but we don't care as much about those right now. The Zerglings, Solar. Clem lets it go on a queen, but no, he used the select all! Or at least he split him off, and now the Clem finally found his opportunity. He was waiting. He did not forget about that medevac. And the moment he gets the opportunity, he's doing a lot of damage to the hatchery. Don't expect one of us in the wreckage, brother. Gets into the main. Oh no, the Spore Crawler gets the kill. And that actually, a small mistake out of Clem will free up a lot of mental and physical space for Solar. Oh, the infestors are out though. Ghosts are on the way for Clem. The list of Hive Tech upgrades is in production for Solar. We got Adrenal, Lurker range, Hydra lunge, and some Marines being dropped out. Clem retargets the Widow Mine, countering Solar's attempts in order to drag it out. He just targets down the Banelings, and there's no fungal here. Banelings are not a counter to Clem. As Solar is learning the most painful way here. You can't just A-move Banelings at Clem. You need at least double the number you think you do. And even then, he just knocks out the Banelings, defends against the counterattack. Solar tried to crush the army down the center, but Clem just repositions. And make no mistake, Solar is Well, he loses a hatchery, but he still has a pretty solid economy. He has good tech. He's going for hive and... Oh, no. Well... That infestor was a bit optimistic. A liberator sieges up. And he is... I think he needs to scan for more vision range. But the liberator has enough there. I don't know if that spore crawler can hit. Of course not. But now the hydras are dragged back. And as he pulls it back, that opens up the center for Clem to come... Oh, Clem's accidental cyclone. This is a classic Clem tactic. Thaddeus, the accidental cyclone that, because of some odd hotkey quirks that he sometimes ends up making. No, he wanted one cyclone without any upgrades. That was totally what he... Anyways. Venn diagram of freedom moving forward. And things looking more and more difficult. But here comes Clem, just tearing through the front line. The EMPs are good. The liberators are moving forward. And Clem continues the siege. Is it time? Solar, he's at 200 supply. He needs to break through. He can't afford to lose this phase too. Or at least he needs to do some damage on the other side. He's pushed back. The medevacs intercepted. The Zerglings over to the right flank. But Clem is moving forward with the majority of his army. Does he have enough to come back and defend? He has to. But no. Wait. It's... I thought we were going to get some more drama down the center, but... Well... The Marines, the Marauders, the Ghosts... And with the Liberators to back them up. 200 supply on either side, but... Where is Solar? Is the question. The Baneling's rolling through, but... They have to come around at Orbital Command. Another command center will be lifted. Clem actually kind of abandoning his third to an extent. Will now retake it. But he took out the hatchery down the center and took very good trades in the process. He has more money and more minerals and gas in the bank. Just minerals are money and gas is gas. Everyone knows that. All right, just in case. The lurkers will burrow and then be burrowed into the unit's lost tab. The Liberators rapidly sieging up. And Clem across the board. Pop some more of the Zerglings. Infestors on the way, but Clem is maxed out with so much in the bank. Meanwhile, Solar is languishing. He's struggling to maintain 200 supply. He doesn't actually have the larva. Loses another hatch. He's on the right. He's on the left. And Solar was caught down the center. Another hatch will be killed. Yanks in the Liberators. And eats some of the Banelings of the Marauders. Picks up and gets out. And the main push, which well, this became the main push. Solar is bleeding out. Clem has restabilized and clearly not tilted. I think that last game, well, maybe the technical difficulties played a bit more of a factor than even I was mentioning. It's easy to gloss over when we're skipping past such interruptions, but wow. Well, here comes Solar with pretty much everything he has. And that's a lot of Banelings, plenty of Hydras. The Infestor unburrows, throws out the Fungal, gets a chunk of Marines and Marauders. It's something. Orbital Command is burning. Knocked down. Widow Mines. Liberator sieging up. The Split, the Stim. He parts the Red Sea and then collapses back as soon as he has the position to do so. The Vipers are on their way across, though I think they ate at least one Widowmine hit on the way. Viper Parasitic Bomb is good. Fungal is better. Wombo combo. And just like that, a perfect combo. Not perfect enough. He needed that several times over several minutes ago. Clem puts down the counter. And, well, the Clempire strikes back with confidence. Now that, clearly a bit of time to warm up. But now Clem firing on all cylinders. And it's just it's scary. Feels like Solar. Or is it Is it just the Banshees? Okay, is it Banshees? While we're ruminating about that. Puns are the lowest form of humor. Burrowed puns. Even more like burrowed. Like, oh. Mothership. 3-player map. Game number 3. And we see which way this series tilts. In maybe a literal sort of sense. As Solar... Honestly, I do think the Banshees, the second coming of the Banshees, was the most important. Where they came back in as Solar had dealt with the first push, or at least driven it back. And then the Banshees come in, kill 5-8 drones, and drag half the Hydras away. Any momentum that Solar could have gained at that timing, any sort of map control or even creep spread, was completely undercut. All right. I've gone from... I'm strongly in favor of Banshees. And I will continue to wag the finger. Which finger? It depends on how often they don't go Banshees, but whenever I don't see them. I'm not saying 100% of the time it's the right call. But 100% of the time, I think it's a good one. And not that nothing else works, but I feel like it's almost like Protoss versus Zerg. Whereas Zerg, against ground attacks and in general, is pretty good at defending. It's just Queens, while they do have anti-air capability, they're not the most agile creatures. And they're not very good at taking out any mobile unit in general. Well, that's kind of two sides of the same coin, but still. And that's why oracles are so prevalent in Protoss versus Zerg, because very simply, also just the fact they deny a counterattack. Like we saw in game number 1, when Clem did his first attack, and he found some success, but then Zerglings just came into the third and killed SCVs and forced him to lift his orbital. So, having essentially a denial of ground units in general on your side of the map for the first 6+ minutes of the game, it's pretty good. Pretty good. And that's why I think other Zergs, apparently not Solar yet, have been flirting with the quick lair idea. Cyril as well. Okay, Solar as of now, apparently. Solar with a 3-minute lair. So, it's a queen drop. It's a queen drop? It's a German taxi build, named after Lambo, the German Zerg player who first did it, in case you're wondering. And also because it's a fun name. It's straight up German taxi. Like, this is a rush to queen drop. This is something Freddie Mercury could be proud of here. Wait. Oh. He saw no third. Okay. There's already a bunk. Did he see the lair? He saw no third. He's basing all this off of the lack of a third base. Clem, that is. And he didn't go Banshee. Which means... Well, he has 2 Rex. He's got a Marauder. He's expecting roaches. But it's not roaches. It's going to be Mass Dropper Lord. And, well, this is awkward. The Hellions kind of buffering here. Though, ideally, he wouldn't lose them, but he lost a lot of Zerglings. I don't know, Solar. Hey, ladies, we're getting... Our chauffeur has arrived. It's slimy. What do you mean? No, it's only gross when it's other people's slime. My slime's fine. Susan, while that may be true, now we're all grossed out. Oh, shut up, Brenda. You have weird slime as well. Sorry. I've bunkers on the way. Solar telegraphing this like it's 1872, and The bunker's almost done. There's a lot of Marines already. Can he get... is he walled off on that? Well, all right. Drops the queens directly on his face, which some people might be into, but Clem and Solar both not so much. Well, that was more one-sided than a Mobius strip there. That did not work at all. What a failure. He doesn't even bother. 2 bunkers. It's just Zerglings and queens. So 1 bunker. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Feel like we don't need to rehash that. It just was not... It was a questionable idea to start, and it only got worse as time went on. Not much time. But, well, a chance at redemption. We're on Ruby Rock. Usually the quick lair, to be clear. Now let me be clear. The quick lair is not a queen drop. I wasn't talking about queen drop. We're talking like Hydra timing, talking quick mutas. Things that don't necessarily rely on your opponent not realizing you're going to try to get units in their base this moment. Mutas are not quite the same thing. But yeah. Wow, that was rough. 2 racks. We're going to the Reapers. He's got a bit of buffer. I think to an extent Terran's also just like microing Reapers. It's the ultimate bullying unit. Zerg, especially for several minutes, Zerg literally has nothing that can catch them. So you just run around, seeing how much damage you can do, and then prancing away the moment things look a little less than perfect. Of course, a lot of Terran units are optimized for cowardice. Like, that's kind of their whole kit, right? You've got Reapers, which can jump up and down cliffs. You've got things that can cloak and burrow and cloak again. You got teleporting across the map. You have mineral-only map hacks. You have boosting away your evacs. You have range upgrades for a unit that already flies. You have siege tanks, which may be the least offender, but you have a unit that locks on and then runs away and says, "Don't touch me there." You don't say that. It's just implied. But when you use all those things to, or at least some of those things to great effect, you find a lot of success. And Clem, the most successful of all. The Overlord should realize at least some of this. The 3rd base on the way. We'll see if Clem can test it with the Reapers. If he just sits on it here, he throws the grenades to add that little bit of damage. The amount of damage that Beyond got nerfed many years ago. Because you could kind of just build Reapers and that was the whole build. Now you can still do that, but it's a little harder. The Queens. The chase is on. Dun, dun. Oh my. He might not get the 3rd. Well, Zergling speed. Oh my. The Brenda bout. Oh, come on. Well, it's gonna be close. He dances through. Gonna kill a lot. He actually built another Reaper. That might be enough. Oh, no. Oh. He got the... Oh my. Well, when it goes well... He lost 1 Reaper. He cancels the hatch. It wasn't destroyed outright, but there's still 3 Reapers at home. He's gonna have to pull SCVs, I think. Or at least pull them into the corner. There was a split second where if the Zerglings had run up before he sat down on the reactor, but the SCVs He's just gonna commit the Zerglings to killing him, but the grenades buy a little bit more time. The SCV's not dying. Like, even the SCVs are struggling to die. Clem has gone from a uncomfortable start in game 1 to, well, now, it might look bad for Solar. But at the same time, he does have 35 drones. The third base timing was so important. Clem already has a third orbital command done. The third hatchery is not. Might be able to kill the queen. Enough Zerglings back at home. So the Reaper's still existing and a Banshee. All right. When at first I was afraid, I was petrified. No. Had nothing to do with anything. I was going to be like, well, Reapers don't really lend themselves to Banshees. But he went Reapers, and now he's going Banshees? Now, is that necessarily better? The Zerglings will run by, but that Clem's going to dive in the moment he sees that, right? Like, couple Hellions. The SCVs can help buffer, potentially, or he just micros the Hellions. That works, too. He's running all the way back. That's probably the biggest win. Is 5 SCVs, and he gets the Reapers and Hellions off his back. So Solar will buy himself space for a few more drones. Lair is halfway there. The Overlord is just kind of hanging out, which is its whole thing. Like, yes, both Banshees. But Clem adds on the... Of course, we're going bio behind. Sometimes you'll go 5, 6, 7 minutes without committing outright to more production. But eventually, we end up with the Marines, the drugs, the guns, and the prejudice against the illegal alien races. Or so, I think Manx called it. But the Banshee adding some damage. The Queen's getting bounced around, though... Will take a lot of hits from the Knitting Needle. So he's got a second Banshee on the way across. The Reapers are in the main. The Hellions are doing something over here. You can get a surprising amount of Hellions in a small area, which is interesting. Real hot in that corner. Meanwhile, the Queens are clearly out of position. The Spore Crawler in a pretty good spot to zone out, but not so good that the Banshees won't deny some portion of this mining. Oh no, the Brenda bounce, and the Frenchman gonna take out some more Queens. The Banshees might have an... Oh, he cloaks for a split second. We'll lose one Banshee, kiting back the Zerglings. And Solar, well, he's taking the punches here. He's still got a decent economy, and he's going for roaches, so... Which, roaches, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. Where you have enough to survive direct engagements a lot earlier. A lot less larva intensive than Zerglings, but at the same time, even less mobile. Which means if Clem divides his forces well, it's going to be very hard to conquer them. Banshee just picks off a few more drones. 66 to 62 workers. And Clem's not building anymore. He's going, looks like for an 8 or 7 or 8 racks, octo racks timing. Incinerates a few more drones. And now the Marines are stimming in. He doesn't have any upgrades. In fact, Solar will be the first one with +1 Carapace. But Clem is not too far off. He now knows he's dealing with, for sure, the Mass Roach Ravager. Which the response is pretty clear. He's bunkering up. The siege tank's in position. 1-1 is about to be completed, and Combat Shield isn't too far behind. And all 3 of those upgrades are absolutely critical in surviving this. Though, Solar's done a great job of masking his true intent. He hasn't yet reached his final form. He's not going for the Roach All-In. I think he realizes that Clem... Yeah, and oh, the Hive... He scans the Hive, just what he suspects. Maybe this is a band, just salvages the bunkers, realizes that he's been bamboozled. Not for long, but Solar successfully baited him into thinking it was going to be like a 200 supply roach timing, and then sped towards Hive Tech, which may be his best opportunity in order to counteract the mid-game strength of Clem's composition. He even started rebuilding SCVs. Clem was preparing to defend an all-out Zerg attack and maybe set up a counter. But instead, now he's preparing for a more late-game oriented situation. Of course, he still has a lot of units. Baneling speed is a long way off. The corrosive bile will be thrown up, and with some prayers, they won't be answered. Viper's on the way, but that's a long and ultraless cavern. Optimistically entering the production tab. But Clem, a siege line behind this. The Zerglings will counter. There's still a Banshee back at home to help out. And if Solar can defend this attack, he's got 79 drones. He's got 4 going on 5 bases. The Zergling counter, the Banshee not going to be enough, but the reinforcements sprinting up from the natural held there to make sure that they're in position to help with exactly this sort of thing. But he pulls back. The siege tanks within out the Banelings. A few Marines take the brunt of it. A lot of Lings and Banes moving through. He will split back at home, but the Marauders easily absorbing most of it. Clem has a supply lead now. The Vipers should be out. They have enough energy for 1 blinding cloud apiece. Gonna consume the hatch while Clem is hitting it with the Marines and Marauders. 2-2 upgrades are not quite done yet for Clem, and this is possibly the best opportunity for Solar to clean this up, because once those upgrades are completed, Clem's army is going to be a lot harder to deal with. But unfortunately, will not be able to strike in time. Marines and Marauders out in front. +2 armor for Clem, seconds away. Blinding Cloud on the front line. And, well, yanks in a Liberator. Knocks out a Siege tank, but without Vipers, without Infestors, he's got Ultralisk popping out, but they're paperless right now. They have +2 Carapace, but no Chitinous Plating. One easily popped by the Marauders and the Siege tanks. A second one, the fact he's hunting Ultralisks is, well, big game hunting is a tried and true pastime for StarCraft players in general. But a Liberator Siege is up to the north. Clem knocks out the early Ultras. Infestors in production. The Ravagers scattering through a shotgun blast trying to keep Clem at bay. But the Marauders are stimming forward. Another wave of Corrosive Bell knocks out a Widowmine. The Banshee adding more to 17 kills and counting. Now killing Ravagers. May finally die to the Queens. He micros it away because of course he does. The Queens try to chase. Ultra patches up one of the Queens. Chitinous Plating is done. But the Banshee can go kill the drones if he recognizes the situation. Oh no. And the Ravager's gonna be hit. The Banshee proving itself yet again. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that one out there. And another Liberator. 7 kills. He's denying money on 2 bases. The Banshee hitting even more drones. 20 kills. And Solar. Oh, it's a disaster. Game 1 was shaky for Clem. And honestly, was it over? I'm not sure. But this one, almost certainly, he wastes a Parasitic Bomb. I guess waste is maybe a bit strong, but Parasitic Bomb on a single Banshee. The Medivacs, oh no, the Ultras! They're too thick! Oh, they can't get, it's all over. Clem, 3. Solar, barely 1. Clem with a decisive victory, bringing us to our anti-spoiler bonus series against the second best Korean Zerg. Arguably better nowadays, considering he beat Solar in the last GSL. But we have Shin, aka Ragnarok, aka Shin. Though he's earned that title, I think, at least for the moment. And, well, let's see if Solar couldn't get it done. Maybe Ragnarok can. So Ragnarok is actually giving Clem some real trouble. There was a series, I think it's one of those where he used Clem's face shocked at an ultra. Like, oh my god, why is there an ultra list there? And the question is, and if you're like, Winter, why do you do these thumbnails? Like, oh, well, so fun fact. YouTube knows everything about you, all right? And then some. Or at least it's assuming. So it eventually, through this, and that's why you might see different thumbnails or titles, because going through the process of figuring out what the people love, or at least what gets their attention. They're like, okay, what about those clickbait but that's just, well, what, maybe you could be more descriptive. Maybe you could put more information in the title. I could. But speaking of, wait, this is not Rogue. This is Ragnarok. I was gonna work into that, but I don't like to mix and match though. Like it sometimes has issues with if you put an Ultralisk on the thumbnail and say the title is about Ultralisk, but you have another thumbnail where it's like about a bunker rush. It mixes up the title and the thumbnail. So if you see a thumbnail, well, I usually do that nowadays. Jimmy might fuck it up, but heck it up. Jimmy, edit that. But usually try to narrow it to one variable. Control for things. Unlike any Zerg seems to be able to control Clem. Now Ragnarok gonna give it a shot with 4 Zerglings on the other side of the map. The door is shut in his face, a single SCV. He evaded the initial Reaper, and we're back on Mothership. And it doesn't seem like it's gonna be an early Queen drop all-in from Ragnarok, but time will tell. Well, time is already told. He doesn't have a lair on the way. He is building a lot of Zerglings. A lot more Zerglings than you'd usually expect for just the initial Hellions. He may try to sneak out. He's even hiding some of them, it seems. Gonna show like 6 of them. Sneaks past. And Banshee on the way. The Reaper Hellion just runs by, calling the bluff here. Oh my. Okay, wait. Well, 4 drones. 5, 6, 7. Meanwhile, though, Zerglings get 3 SCVs. So it cost him 7 drones, but it's costing Clem. We'll see how much he's able to get. Getting a similar number of SCVs is actually a bigger deal, especially if he ends up killing the Hellions, which, to an extent, he has. And more Zerglings just continually coming across. Gets a good jump on the second Hellion. The Banshee is finally out. Is there no 3rd command center? Huh. So, Ragnarok doing a great job of keeping control of the situation. Still not a flawless defense or attack, but it is... All this is happening on 2 command centers for Clem. He's skipped or decided against. Well, either way, the result is the same. Having a 3rd here. Which means he's a lot more all-in than Ragnarok might realize. The Queens, on the other hand... Well... Wait, where's the lair? There is none. It's not even in production. Oh my. We just started. Clem will see it. Knowing that the lair... Well, he'll run out of energy eventually, as the Queens are slowly but surely boxing in the Banshee. It's... Yeah. Well... You gotta say it, Susan? No, I'm not really feeling like it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, shut up, Red. I don't... Sorry. The 3 Rex. Now a 3rd command center on the way. Clem walls it his tank. One of us. Wait, can he get out? Oh. I think maybe he just didn't set the rally point. None of us. And a Banshee might be able to outright deny the 4th base. Well, so Ragnarok takes 66 drones, which is a very comfortable lead. And now he just needs to make good on it. Because Clem is coming across the map. The Banshee doing a lot of damage. The Queen's ambling out. The Hellions might be able to help out. Spots it. Well, he can cloak as well. Just does so. And the rest of the army is going to be spotted by an Overlord. And oh no. Oh, the body block. Nope. Nope. Let's get you back to creep. So, Baneling speed is still pretty far off. The Spore Crawler zoning out the Medivacs for a moment, but without Baneling speed and off of creep, you cannot really fight this. Does he have an armory? No. But even out in front, and the Banshees, wait, there's only 3 Queens left. He's building some Hydras. Ragnarok trying to take a different 4th. I think he's misreading this situation entirely. It's just expected that Terran would have a 3rd command center. And Clem does. But he didn't before. And so everything Ragnarok is doing would be amazing if Clem, well, if he hit 30 seconds later like he would have if he had a 3rd command center earlier. But instead, this timing is much sharper and with much more potential to cut through despite not getting combat shield. Because if you don't take damage, you don't need HP. But the Banelings come in, he picks up. Ragnarok collapsing on all of it. Gonna drop out on the other side. The Banshee gonna pick off Banelings. What Banelings? Goodbye! They are gone! And Ragnarok, for a moment, looked like he could drive this back. But instead, he's driven directly into a wall and will be smashed against it. The Banelings are all taken out. The Marines. It's free real estate. And more Queens as the Banshee racks up the kills. And Clem just... a decisive victory. Using everything from start to finish. And honestly, Ragnarok, if he had realized the scenario, it's hard to recognize. Because if you don't get all the way into the main, like if it... You technically have to scout the entire main base with an Overlord, but you're not going to be able to do because they have Marines. It's very hard to recognize, especially if you don't get an early lair, because you can't get an Overseer. Oh, I'm doing this. But it's almost impossible to recognize they're on 2 base, unless you get a Zergling or go for Overlord speed. The thing is, Overlord speed costs as much gas as getting a lair itself. So... Ragnarok, a bit greedy, and even more so considering the situation, though he couldn't have known, at least not easily, exactly which one he was in. And Clem getting just those little bits of extra damage. We're back to Ruby Rock. We see which maps that Clem clearly favors, and any maps you see in both series against Zerg, well, there's a veto process. Usually what happens is the players will go back and forth, vetoing some of the maps until we're down to the amount in the series. I would favor, personally, especially if we had a more dynamic map pool, not having vetoes, maybe 1, and then picking maps back and forth. But most tournaments usually allow you to veto everything and then we just decide what order they're in. But I'm not sure which this tournament uses, but... The fact that Ruby Rock and Mothership have showed up in both series tells you that neither side seems to find them too disagreeable. We've seen definitely some drawn-out macro games on both. There's potential for cheese on both. They're also relatively... Well, I guess Mothership is a 3-player map, but Zerg players, there's a lot of space for activities. And even if the Terran can turtle up, it doesn't mean... Well, then you can get 12 bases, so... Second command center on the way. I had him zoned out for a moment, but Ragnarok trying. The lair was so late. Well, he lost some drones, obviously, so that certainly doesn't help. But the Banshee just having free range. He tried the Zergling counter, is why. He cut into his own economy, so he didn't want to get gassed as early, because there's a certain level of mineral production you need to be able to build queens and anything else. And that's somewhere in the 30s of drones. Once you get up there, well, you're hopefully have enough income to justify forward-thinking economic progress. But nowadays, is that true? Like and subscribe for financial dread. In order to alleviate mine. And Patreon. I'm okay. Thank you for watching. Third command center. Starport on the way. Clem, back to basics. The 111, the barracks, the factory, the starport, the Destiny Cloudfist build, as I heard it called in a fever dream at some point. Second gas on the low ground. I usually, at first I thought this was to hide it. But now I think it's just more efficient to get it there than have both in the main. As that's where you're usually transferring your workers anyways, but I noticed Clem usually gets the second guess. Another counter! Clem, a slight bit slow on the reaction, and now the Zerglings are in the base. Hellions coming back home to defend. And this will do damage. The question is how much? 2 SCVs? Oh, look at that SCV micro. Mineral walks through, and now the rest of the Hellions are coming back. There's a couple more badly bruised SCVs. Does he get the... Disgusting. Clem loses a grand total of 2 SCVs. Many more of them bruised and maybe could be repaired. Probably won't be, but he has 3 command centers. He's going Cloak Banshee. He's going to bounce back from that, if there's even anything to bounce back from, almost instantly. And while Ragnarok is up to around 50 drones, he has to expend some of those drones building spore crawlers, some building extractors. The economic lead is marginal at best. You see the dip there as the SCVs were called into the fight. But right back to work and evens things out. More drones on the way to the lair. Halfway done, so not a lair rush. Creep tumors sniped off by the Banshee. And another Banshee's on the way. Cloaks! And the Queens have nothing to contest it. Fourth base, deja vu. We've just been in this base before. The fourth base under fire from the Banshee. The Hellions and Reapers coming to reinforce. And this might be enough to... Yep, just outright cancels. And oh no, the Queens! An Overseer's on the way. More Queens, one gets taken out. He just runs by. The Zerglings realize the situation they're in, but he holds on the top of the ramp. The Banshee's still finding damage. Oh, Clem. Oh no, the drone's getting char-broiled. 6 drones dead. The Hellions getting in. The Banshees are at the third, and the Spore Crawler was protecting from Banshees on the outer edge of the mineral line. 11 drones. The Queens are coming back around, but Clem reacts. He's going to get a couple more drones in the process. He can... Wow, oh my. Circumvents the Spore Crawler range, which is only a mild deterrent. 19 kills! And Ragnarok... He's replacing those drones. He's already done so. But the thing is, every drone you make is not Zerglings. It's not Hydras. And Clem has not been slacking on production back at home. He's got his barracks, and he's working on the fourth base again. It's now already softened up. The creep isn't even close. as the queens are wandering back. And if he keeps them towards the base, then the Marines and tanks will swing in and easily be able to take him out. But if he doesn't keep him towards the base, the Banshees can do so anyways. Either way, I don't think this base is going to have a good time. Thankfully for Ragnarok, he's anticipated that and has gone for the base to the south. Hatchery taken out. Small Zergling counter. I think the siege tank did more damage than the Zerglings did. 1-1 about to complete. Combat shield still pretty far off as he's working off of just one tech lab. But Clem denies the economy yet again while building up his own. Ragnarok rolling with the punches. He doesn't have a Baneling nest. He's entirely reliant on Mass Hydralisk, which can work. It's a numbers game. We'll see if it adds up. I think Clem wants a tech lab instead of a reactor. Canceled it there. Yeah. And the Banshees coming in again. They haven't been repaired, but they're still gonna find a couple more drones. And partially just to drag the attention away, potentially. Oh my. Taps him on the shoulder. The Marines out in the midfield. Baneling nest is now on the way. Hydralisk speed is most of the way there. +1 ranged attack. Be joining it as well. Stimming a few. And this is kind of... Well, he just finished Combat Shield. This might be the best chance for Ragnarok to break it, as he's got a decent economy, a solid amount of army supply. Clem is still far off the +2/+2 upgrades. So there's a chance to just collapse on this. What's the Hydralisk count? 20 of them. 53 Zerglings. A few Banelings scattered in. More Queens gunned down. The Zergling counter. He's going to attempt it, but, well, the Marines are just buffering for the tanks. The wall, but I think, yeah, they can slip through that corner. Clem not completely locking this base down, and that actually will cost him a lot of SCVs. Unfortunately, this commitment of Zerglings will cost Ragnarok his 4th base at the very least. Well, he's gonna fight. +2 Carapace is nearly done, but the 4th base itself is as well. Another base. He didn't build a planetary here. The Zerglings, he actually picks up some of the SCVs. He spots the hive on the way. So Clem now knows he's not dealing with Vipers or Lurkers. It's just Hydralings and Banes. And that is something he knows how to manage. Baneling speed is nearly complete, but the 2/2 upgrades for Clem as the siege tanks spread forward. Clem pre-splitting. Baneling speed is done. But he's running out of real estate here. The Baneling's gonna try to roll through the siege tanks. Well, they're trying to find the shots. Retargeted on the Banelings are gone. A couple managed to trickle through. Targets the Liberators. It's not remotely close to enough. It's not even in the same county as enough. Ragnarok has been struggling to find his footing this entire game. And Clem, I think, is just gonna complete the sweep. Oh wait, the Banelings pop out at the perfect place, perfect time. It's not remotely enough. Clem will be smashing through, and an even more decisive victory than against Solar. Though stiff competition with himself to beat the 2 best Zerg players in Korea back to back. Actually, I think it was in the other order, but. And not even make it look particularly close. I really think even game 1 was probably just tilted from the lag. As that is the only thing that can really effectively deal with Clem, is getting him tilted early and hoping he stays that way. He's just gotten so good at not staying that way. He might get frustrated at one game or another, or hero in general, but otherwise. Jimmy! Well, hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did, or at least some decent fraction. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership, but I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our meal tier patrons, bringing in those extra minerals. Big Jaggy Devendor, Kate, Crazy Mouse, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoy. And, well, I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Did I already say that? I think so. Jimmy, edit the... Why don't we have just a preset bit for the end part? Yeah, I know it's more relatable. Anyways, make sure to check out this video Jimmy picked out just for you. And thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Hope I made your day at least a little bit better. Stay chill.